Okay, so today I have been playing with animations in Emacs. From what I know, this is only available through the Emacs Mac fork by Mitsuharu Yamamoto. His version of Emacs is available on Bitbucket. There is also a pretty well-known homebrew tab to install this that is available on GitHub. Now, Emacs Mac implements a whole bunch of quality of life improvements for using Emacs on macOS. In general, I found that this fork is more responsive and more compliant, and just everything kind of works. It hooks deeply into the built-in windowing system in macOS, and as a result, you get things like smooth scrolling, which I think is pretty cool. There's a whole bunch of other features, but the one that I found recently are animations. Check this out. The fact that you could do stuff like this kind of totally blew me away. So this is the page curl with shadow animation, which is a little jarring, but it has its place. You can run animations not only on the entire frame, as I did before, but you can also use a particular window to run this. So for example, if I split to a different window and notice that this will give me a half-second fade out, that looked pretty cool, yeah? So I can run this on a particular window. Right now, if I run it on the top window, there it is. I can go to the bottom window, do the same thing. So it runs just there. It supports directions and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's pretty good. When I found this at first, I thought to myself that I will re-implement the entire UI in Emacs and it would be the most wonderful animated Emacs that anybody has ever seen. But it turns out that this is a little hard to do. So I settled for something a little bit simpler. So here, what I have is pretty simple functionality that keeps track of whether an animation has started or not, and then plays a fade out animation. I found that the fade out works really well because I don't have to know about which window is closing, which window is opening. It just sort of smoothly transitions. So for example, if I have a buffer switch, it just kind of gives me a smooth transition between the two. If I split something and I unsplit it again, it looks pretty good. So I was pretty happy with this. It took a little bit more work than I would like to admit. One of the issues was that it was not clear to me where to hook up those animations to. So for some functions, it was pretty obvious. So split window or delete window, those were fine. But when I was switching buffers, I had to do a lot of digging to find set window buffer. It is essentially the lowest common denominator, or at least the lowest that I found so far. That happens when you switch from one buffer to another. If you just attach this to something like switch to buffer, it will run 100 times when you start Emacs up in the beginning, which is pretty annoying. So I needed to make sure that I have something that is kind of the function that actually is run. I guess that just was a big dive into history of Emacs and how deep the source base is. So yeah, with this fade out, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. Going to the documentation, to the Mac start animation, is basically a single function. There's nothing more. And what it does, it draws an animation on a frame or a window with a transparent background, and well, it does it asynchronously as well. Now, it doesn't really know about what's happening in the window. It doesn't give you a callback when it's done. It just fires up the animation and goes on its own way. There's different types. You have standard fade in and fade out, move in, move out, but then you also have things like bar swipes, copy machines, flashes, and page curls. These are animations that are exposed through the core animation interface on macOS. So this is where this eclectic assortment is coming from. What I really want to know is how hard would this be to implement in something like X11? Because from what I understand, this is just drawing an animation on top of the window. It doesn't interact with the text. It doesn't need to know about the content of it. So it seems that just drawing kind of a blanket animation on top should be feasible, at least. I wonder how hard that is. So yeah, that's it. Check out the Emacs Mac fork if you're in macOS. And if you're not, let me know how something like this could be implemented in other flavors of Emacs. Thanks.